Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome everyone to FusionCast episode 57. We have some special guests joining us today from Red Hat, joined as always by Pete, my partner in crime, coming to us from another secret undisclosed location in the western part of the United States, at altitude, presumably. And from Red Hat today, we have three folks joining. We've got Jennifer Vargas. Jennifer is a product marketing manager on the OpenShift AI team and has worked very closely with her IBM counterparts on watsonx.ai in the portfolio. So Jennifer, thanks for joining us. We have Chuck Doherty. Chuck is, I think, a frequent flyer. He's been on before. Chuck is an eco growth specialist at Red Hat, working with ecosystem partners to build out kind of a broader ecosystem play for Red Hat and its constellation of ecosystem partners, including IBM. And also on audio, not video, is Kevin Murphy, who is a counterpart and a teammate of Chuck's, also part of the ecosystem growth team. So Jennifer, Chuck, Kevin, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. So what we would like to talk about today, as you may have surmised from the roles that are joining us today, is AI. I know you're shocked that we're going to be talking about AI. Specifically, though, we want to kind of set the stage a little bit for the broader IBM and Red Hat AI story. So every company in our space, us and all of our competitors and everybody who's anybody, the focus is very much on AI. So when ChatGPT burst onto the scene a couple of years ago and made generative AI kind of a household term, that set in motion a number of macro trends in our industry around how to develop and apply AI solutions for enterprise, right? And how to, how to do so in a reliable, secure, safe, defensible, legally permissible, compliant way. And that is obviously where IBM is incredibly strong. So fast forward to today, last year we announced the watsonx portfolio of solutions, watsonx.data, .ai, and .governance. One thing that is maybe not known by some of our audience is that a very important element of that entire portfolio, and especially watsonx.ai, is a capability called OpenShift AI, formerly known as Red Hat OpenShift Data Science, which enables a lot of the advanced capabilities that Watson delivers. So we want to spend some time today talking about, number one, what is OpenShift AI? How does it integrate with watsonx to add value and create this very robust enterprise-grade platform for AI in the enterprise? And then we want to explore a little bit of the sort of demand and the market domain. Like, what are some of the drivers behind consumption of these models and these use cases? How do we address things like, we speak to customers all the time, and many of them are experiencing what we like to call AI FOMO. They feel like everybody's doing AI and I'm not, and I'm freaking out, so I need to do it, so you need to help me do it. And the other side of the coin is they're jumping headlong into AI without necessarily having a full understanding of a rudimentary taxonomy or landscape of what AI looks like. So they're kind of making all sorts of weird decisions and doing lots of science projects that are not necessarily achieving the desired outcome. So that's a little bit of setting the stage. So Jennifer, I would like to start with you, if that's okay. Tell us a little bit about the work you've been doing with the watsonx team and kind of where we are in that integration journey with OpenShift AI and watsonx.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So the work that we're doing on the alignment is to basically provide an AI-centric portfolio for all our customers that is able to deliver an end-to-end AI ML experience that basically not only allows customers to develop the models and tune the models, but also getting it to the finish line. So how do you put that model into your production environment? How do you make sure that you're realizing the value of AI? And the complementation between the two products is great because the IBM watsonx.ai studio provides you a lot of the tools that a typical data scientist will need to help you out, like do your experimentation. So they can spend that time creating that model or tuning that model that really makes sense for the business side. Meanwhile, OpenShift AI, the integration with the two of them together, is providing you those AI ML tools that allows you to streamline the operations, that provides you the hardware support that you need to run these highly intensive computing workloads, right? And also how to manage the fleet of all these models and the models being deployed to the applications. So there's a big part of not only integrating those models to the application, but also helping out on the collaboration. Why the collaboration? Well, yeah, you have the data scientists working on one side, but then you have your developers working on the other side. And then you have the IT ops trying to make everything work together and putting everyone to work together. And one of the things that OpenShift AI does, because it runs on top of our platform, Red Hat OpenShift, is to help out with that collaboration. So we help out to provide that consistent experience that allows them to move that model to the developer, so the developer can, test it on the application or include it on the application and then move it on to the IT ops when it's in production so they can monitor it.
Yeah, so I think it's a great example, and we talk about this all the time. When IBM acquired Red Hat and kind of brought Red Hat into the family, we started to build out this very, expansive vision of what hybrid cloud will look like and can look like. That has been moving very aggressively forward, and now that AI is sort of pushing to the front of the front of the parade, if you will, seeing that integration strategy applied to this domain is really interesting, and I think you explained it really well. And even just beyond watsonx, Pete, we talk a lot about some of the other interesting areas where we're kind of cross-pollinating, whether it's Ansible Lightspeed or Code Assistant. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see how this is maturing. And I know one of the fundamental concerns in the market space right now is privacy and security of this data. How do you know your LLMs are actually secure? Because it's one thing, to steal customer data, but it's yet another thing to steal your knowledge of how to use that customer data in impactful ways. So I think that's one of the key things that, we're certainly working on, from the IBM side of things, together with the Red Hat team, on making sure that we deliver the most secure solution for this. But it's really interesting, to see how we're going up market with these solutions. And, the great example that I like to cite is, the ability to automatically generate code. And it's interesting, I've partaken in, there's a mentoring program here at IBM where, I work with college students. And one of the college students I was working with, she asked me, like, is this going to take away my job? Like, I'm in computer science right now. And I'm like, no, it's not going to take away your job. It's going to help you be much more productive in your job, and it's going to help you.
Yeah, it's going to make your job more fun. It's going to take away a lot of the tedium and the toil. Yeah,
exactly. And being a COBOL programmer in my past life, I can tell you don't. There's certain things you don't want to have to deal with, and there's a lot more cool things that you can go work on. And definitely that's the case.
I didn't know Pete was that old. First of all, second of all,
well, sorry. Gray hair.
Right. Yeah. So
although not as gray as Chuck's.
Not as great as Chuck's or mine, for that matter. But so good point. And Chuck, let me throw that question to you as well. So you work with a vast kind of ecosystem partnership community of different players, whether it's Intel or NVIDIA, and obviously that's very relevant in this AI domain as we look at the importance of GPU acceleration and so forth. What are you seeing in your conversations with some of those other ecosystem partners around AI specifically?
Yeah, so Randy, I'll start out by quoting you. In a lot of the partners have what's called AI FOMO, fear of missing out. And there's a lot of things that are happening in the AI ML space that are developing, and they're happening real time. And so a lot of the partners are trying to figure out how to position AI with the workloads that they're working with customers on. And they're looking to ways to work with, ISVs or different types of partners to put a joint solution together to go to market around AI ML. And so they're looking for answers, but the one thing they're looking to do is make it easy so that their salespeople can position it and sell it. And so I think that's what we really need to get to, is a point to help cut through the confusion of, models and LLMs and all the other things that people are catching up with, the AI acronym soup.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, again, we sort of hear that all the time, and I think that's one of the things that watsonx has tackled, and I think they've done a good job of not only simplifying that whole discussion and dialogue, but sort of breaking it into logical elements, right? Like the three pieces of watsonx.data.ai and .governance are a little bit easier to consume and understand independently than if you try to wrap them all together. So I think that makes the conversation, a little bit easier. Jennifer, back to you. Where do you see this collaboration going this year? What are you looking for as 2024 kind of rolls on for where this is going to go and how this will develop? If you had to just look in your crystal ball.
I think this will bring great opportunities, for everyone, Red Hatters, IBMers. I think we have a very strong AI/ML portfolio that can really help out customers make sense of, how to deploy the Gen AI models or applications, and how to not forget predictive AI, right? Like you said at the beginning, we've been almost run by a train with ChatGPT and Gen AI, but as my colleagues always say, predictive AI still runs the businesses today. So it's very important to create that collaboration. I think Red Hatters and IBMers can really help customers to put this into the context. In addition to that, I think one specific, very important topic that we really want to drive, and I think is also part of IBM's vision, is emphasizing the importance of responsible AI. And, I think that's going to become a very important topic where we play a very good role, which is, let's make sure that AI is open. Let's make sure that we're using global standards to push transparency, freedom of choice, flexibility, and trust in AI. So we can help out, our customers to really, being able to comply with those, regulations that many government organizations are putting out there.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I did a video with one of our business partners last week, and one of the primary topics was around governance, and in particular in the EU. He's based in the EU. Their governance laws are already way ahead of ours. Like, they're typically kind of a cycle or two ahead of us in terms of compliance and governance. So they are looking at 2024 as the year of AI governance, right? And I think, to your point, Jennifer, and it's a very valid one, this is where IBM really can shine here, because we have kind of grown up in the enterprise space. So we bring the trust factor. We have a whole board of executive level folks at IBM that are focused purely on AI ethics and deliverability and explainability and curation and chain of custody and all the kind of factors around implementing an LLM in the enterprise. So I think that gives us a huge competitive advantage. And again, this is all leveraging not just OpenShift AI, but OpenShift, right? I mean, the OpenShift as the perfect platform by which or with which to deploy these things. There's nobody else in our, these guys are sick of hearing me say it. There's no one else in our industry who can deliver that story. There just isn't. I mean, there's certainly none of our competitors, none of the, Apex cloud providers or the hyperscalers can do it. It's us. So
especially because of the hybrid cloud opportunity, right? That opportunity that we bring to help you out, if you want to be closer to your data, let's do it. Let's be closer to the data center. You want to, experiment on the cloud, let's do it. We can provide that flexibility to your customers. Yeah.
Kevin, floor recognizes Kevin. Looks like you got a comment you want to add.
Yes, I apologize. I'm having some Wi-Fi issues, so I'm limiting my bandwidth here.
No worries, man.
But no, you guys are hitting on some really, really key points. I mean, IBM and Red Hat come from a background and more powerful together of really focusing on being able to provide that level of trust and verification and security. I mean, that's where we came from. And you guys brought up a couple points around hybrid. And if you really look at AI, I mean, there's three critical components to AI, which is, the data, the models, and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And at the end of the day, the data for AI, maybe not today, but definitely tomorrow, it's going to be in different locations. And you touched upon some of the stuff around the EU, and whether it's data sovereignty or where the data is located or where they're capturing the data. Red Hat has long history of that. And then when you combine that with Red Hat's ability to really protect whatever investments people have made in people, processes, and technologies, whether it's existing, hybrid cloud vendors or AI vendors, and that's really the area that Red Hat can allow you to say, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter what you've done, but let's understand where you're trying to go. And us with IBM and our ecosystem, we're going to be able to allow you to get to those AI answers and produce outcomes while maintaining that level of whether it's integrity or security or governance. So it really is a unique story. And people tend to think AI in really small chunks right now. I have some data, I have some learning models, and I want to get to an answer, which is good, but it's a little short-sighted. And when you think bigger, you're not going to be able to get much bigger until you get to something like a Red Hat IBM combination.
Yeah, that's the whole premise of watsonx.data is creating this next generation data lakehouse as a way to exploit and access and leverage as much data as possible to improve the results and the outcome probabilities and the business value of this AI framework. So that's a really good point, Kevin.
Yeah. And Randy, there's a really central concept, and Kevin has touched on it, and you've touched on it a little bit here too. The concept of the platform, and it's a very central concept. And if you think about what we're doing between IBM and Red Hat, like we deliver a hyperconverged platform that makes OpenShift easy to deploy, rapidly deployable, takes away all that risk, of going cloud native. That rolls into the platform story. You have a platform that you can deploy for your app developers, your data scientists, for the various different people, your not the data scientists, but also the site reliability engineers and the cube admins and everybody.
Platform engineers.
Platform engineer. That was the term I was looking for. Thank you. They have the confidence to deploy on that platform. But then what we're talking about here is, again, you have the ability to layer on top of that this advanced functionality around AI and, to be able to deliver LLMs and, to be able to do things like code generation and advanced analytics and things like that. So, it's a really central point here, I think, to what IBM and Red Hat are doing together is we're building from the ground up. And it's not something that's brand new. This has been in the market. I mean, Fusion, Randy, we've been in the market for well over 3 or 4 years now at this point. Mm-hmm. And even preceding that, when we worked together, at the announce of the Red Hat acquisition, we've built something that is rock solid, that is proven in the industry. It delivers the platform that we know everybody's going to want. And so I think this is a really key point.
And we're also, I was going to bring that up as well, Pete. That is a very good point. We don't want to gloss over the value or the additive value of deploying this platform on Fusion. And there's that's a whole other topic. And we actually have a whole playlist on our YouTube channel specifically focused on that. But I think, we're seeing like dramatic query acceleration numbers running OpenShift AI and watsonx.ai and data on Fusion. Crazy performance numbers. So it is a phenomenal platform. It's really the perfect platform for this workload set and for this domain. And again, I'll go back to what I said at the very beginning. OpenShift AI as a foundational layer of this whole story even adds more value, because forget about watsonx for just a moment, difficult though that may be, given like that we're bombarded with it constantly. But if you just think outside of watsonx for a minute, OpenShift AI provides instrumentation and capabilities that unlock a massive array of open source and commercial AI tooling products and solutions beyond watsonx, right? So in my mind, that's a perfect integration story, because now when you drop it into the enterprise, if they're using watsonx, that's great. But if they already have some other AI frameworks or some other, models or ML ops things they're doing, they can dump it right onto the same platform and get all the same benefits. So that's a hugely beneficial workflow, I think.
Randy, you're hitting on a really key point, because we're both so used to finding those greenfield opportunities and stuff. And the fact of the matter is, AI, it feels like a greenfield opportunity, but because there's so much data and there's so much coming out of data analytics, You don't want people to feel like, oh my gosh, I haven't invested in OpenShift, or I haven't invested in watsonx, and I've already started AI, so I'm already too far down the path. And that's really the benefit of the watsonx and OpenShift AI. It doesn't matter where you are in the journey. If you've already made those investments, if you've already started down the AI path, if you have your frameworks or your ML ops platforms, we can sit next to, with, complement. We can bring in those different components. So you're going to get to a point, and a lot of people do, they incrementally adopt AI. You're going to get to a point where all the stuff that we're all on here talking about, whether it's security or scale or hybrid, you can leverage what you have and add in the IBM Watson, OpenShift AI, OpenShift components together individually, independently, and really get to where you're trying to go with an AI journey. It's up to, you want to understand where you're currently at, where you're trying to go, and then we can fit into that journey at any point in time.
Yeah, great point. And I touched on it a little bit earlier, but another big advantage is that we can do that in a way that's very open, right? So you can adopt whatever, open source solution or solutions you might want to use. There's a million commercial, titles that will run on the OpenShift platform. So it's a very, very open, very adaptable solution as well. So
yeah, and that line card of partners and up and comers is changing on, what is it, multiplying every couple of days at this point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, okay. Just to piggyback on that point, a lot of the partners that I'm bumping into are using OpenShift as they're modernizing their applications to make them cloud ready, right? So while they're doing that, OpenShift is that foundation. It's the application platform. It's the platform for the foundation of what they're doing. And OpenShift AI and watsonx play very well into that whole, modernization journey, I guess.
As no one else can. I'll say it again.
Exactly.
All right. Well, this was a great conversation. So I want to thank Jennifer and Chuck and Kevin for joining us today. I know you guys are super busy prepping for a bunch of events, so thank you for taking some time out of your schedule. I think this was a really good conversation. Pete, thanks for joining as always. We're going to be talking about this a lot this year. There will be more episodes to follow focused on this. We'll go deeper on some of the componentry. I suspect we'll do one or more office hour sessions going deeper on OpenShift.ai coming up as well. So stay tuned for those. So parting thoughts before we wrap it up. Jennifer, anything you'd like to take us out with? Not to put you on the spot, but...
Yeah, I think we have said a lot and everything at this point, but just, keep your eyes open. There's a lot of updates coming along this year, new announcements. We're just getting started with, opening the kimono about everything that's coming on the features and the products. So
yeah, it's going to be crazy. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Please, if you have any ideas for future episodes, or if you have any questions based on this episode, let us know. We will get an answer to you. And if you have an idea for a future episode, we'll get it on the production schedule. So thanks again. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Pete. And we'll talk again next week. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.